Okay, this is Sean Henson for Video Diary 1 for level design, and that's not going to work, so we're going to put this over here. Minimize that. Alright, so this is the start of the level. This is the cell block, and the player will start here after a cutscene plays. The NPCs, as you can see, are in the cells themselves, and there will be a guard patrolling, and he would eventually let go of the prisoners in a timely manner where eventually you'd be the last one left in your cell, but for now let's just open all the gates, and at that point the NPCs would start flooding out in the actual game, and they'd start heading down the hallway first. And since you'd be locked in your cell, you'd hear screams as they fail to get through the trap hall, so kind of getting a sense of dread for the player as he proceeds through the level. Now, unfortunately, I don't know why the texture didn't come in properly for this tunnel, so please just ignore that little texture problem. And this is the character Pepe. He is the first NPC, the character who we'll meet, who actually talks to him directly. And Pepe is kind of a coward. He saw what happened to the other individuals as they ran down the hallway to the next hall. So he is going to basically warn the player that, hey, up ahead, the red glyphs burst into flames if you step on them. So he's kind of, giving the player a little bit of a heads up about what's going to come up ahead. So this hallway is going to be extremely dark, and with only light coming from the glyphs right here. So these glyphs would be a lot more glowing and more pronounced in the full version, and the glyphs are used to basically they're like a trap, so if the player steps on it, flame will burst out. So how it would be demonstrated is there'd be a scripted event where the NPC, like right when the player walks around the corner, an NPC runs out and he steps on one of them and he bursts into flames, kind of giving another warning to the player in case they decide not to listen to Pepe's advice. And during this area, the traps would move left and right, up and down in patterns, so the player would have to navigate in a manner neat like this. And from what I can tell, probably jumping over them I wouldn't allow to work. I'd just still have them shoot up at the player. So I might put some on. I would probably have some on the sides for final gameplay. But anyway, moving on. So this is what the tunnel is supposed to look like textured. I don't know why that previous one did not have that texture. But anywho, so the lights kind of brighten up in this tunnel. I wanted to present the player like a really welcoming environment as they come into the armory area. So the armory is like the first hub where the player can talk with NPCs, gather supplies, and he would actually grab a shield in this area along with a health pot if for some reason he got damaged while going through the trap hallway. So we're going to proceed onward. It's kind of in a pentagon shape, so there'd be a shop in each corner, so to speak, and probably a fountain or something really relaxed in the middle, just to calm down the player's nerves after the traps, if they needed that calming. So after you get the shield, you come to this elevator where another glyph is glowing, this one purple. So the purple glyphs do transportation. So as you can see, the elevator is now moving up, and at this point commentator would then start talking to the player, telling him to either dodge or block arrows that be shot out of the wall. And I was thinking of leaving it this dark because it kind of adds a little bit more suspense to it, and I think when the arrows are shot out, they'd actually have a little spark to them, so the player would know which way to look. And right now I'm walking because if I don't walk, the elevator will cause the player to collide in an annoying manner. So after the player gets through the elevator and he successfully either blocks or dodges all the arrows, he comes into the final hub area, which is the arsenal. So this is kind of like a really bloody, violent area because this is where the gladiators would be either practicing on practice dummies down in this pit over here, or by practicing against each other, where this is where it would be sparring bouts if they wanted to practice melee combat. And here's where the player would finally get his sword. So you'd have a sword and shield for his first level out in the arena. So after, he can go around to talk with NPCs in this area if he likes, but after that he finally enters what is the Hall of Glory. And this is where previous champions would be plastered on the walls, so there'd be a large portrait in this area of like previous champions in between each column. I didn't put the portraits up because reasons. But anyway, the room is really large. It's got floating oil bowls with huge fires really illuminating the area, with jade pillars, marble walling, and really decorative ceilings. And then the stairs themselves are actually gold. So this is supposed to be like, you want to be embodied in this area because this is like the best place to be. So being a part of this hall would be a great honor, and hopefully the player would understand that as they slowly march down from the highest steps down to the low level to this opening. Now here, when they probably got to the bottom of the steps, two massive wooden doors would open up, revealing this tunnel. And at that point, hundreds of NPCs would then proceed to flood the hallway, rushing to claim glory in the arena. So we're just going to sprint on ahead, and as they get closer, a roaring crowd would increase in volume until they reach the blinding light, and then they would transition to the actual arena of the game. But that ends the actual first level, and that is my commentary for my level. Signing off.